Hello, people that know how it's doing today. I'm kind of doing another 100 subscriber special thing, but I know we're on over 100. We're 104 now. So don't say I have Alzheimer's, please. um, First things first. So I grew up in Cavan. Everybody knows. I think everybody, even the sheep, know that I grew up in Cavan. Um, so I grew up in Cavan. And I was born in a small village. At the time, it was a small village. Now it's nearly a town, to be honest. God, Ballyheirs. I spent 5 years maybe there when I was young, and then I moved to Butler's Bridge, where I am happily live and happily in peace down here. Um, I like when I was in 5 years in Ballyheirs, the usual stuff. I didn't go to play school. That's one thing about me. I didn't go to play school. Reasons being because when I was younger, I suppose I was very, very hard to talk to, and was very, very an upsetting person. It's very sensitive person. Let's put it that way. And when like that's why I didn't go to play school, to be honest, because literally I was afraid to talk to people. I was afraid to meet people, I suppose you could say, and that's why I didn't go to play school, and that deeply affected me when I went to national school, because everybody, when I was in junior reference, senior reference, they knew each other. I didn't have a clue. I walked into the school, didn't know one person there, and that's it was pretty sad back then when I was young. I do remember thinking that's up and up here, but when you're young, you don't take off that kind of stuff. You don't think, like, I look back now and you're just like, yeah, it was pretty sad. Then, it's always good to look back on things. That's really the thing. You always learn from your mistakes, I suppose you could say. Oh, I always learn from some kind of situation. And yeah, I suppose kept going to national school, kept through national school. I did very much suffer with speech and language. I suppose people still say I could suffer with speech and language. So when I was kind of in first class, maybe even senior reference at the time, I started going to speech and language because nobody could really understand me at all. And, it was just terrible because I was so under the phone because I never talked to many people when I was younger. And that was my parent. There was nobody's fault. It was just the way I was the way I was made. That's what it beyond. My personality was that. So when I was in first class, I suppose the first kicking, I suppose you could ever say in my life again, I got, was when I had to do a tiny bit of Irish, I suppose you could say, and I done that for about 2 months, and then, the teacher more or less said I was too stupid to do it, and I suppose that was true at the time because I don't think I even knew my own name or how to spell my own name because I was that terrible with dyslexia back then. You can still argue that I am terrible with dyslexia now, but the argument might outweigh the negative. But, I always done my best. That's what, like, look back when I was now. I remember thinking I was stupid. That's one thing that always stays with me to the day. It's probably going to stay with me to the day I die, because I do remember sitting there, and you just left there and you just look around the people doing Irish and you're just like, I'm the odd one out. And that's really what the story begins now. And through school for a long, long time, I felt like the odd one out, and the one that one kid who never interacted, who's spent most of his time on his own and never got into anything, So basically, third class, I kind of interact with people out. That's when you see me kind of, suppose, pick myself up a tiny bit. In fourth class, were pretty okay. When I was in fifth class, I suppose the end of them last few months in fifth class were a bit stressful. I don't know why they were stressful, but for me, I suppose back then I wouldn't have a clue what mental health was. So maybe I did actually. I had a bit of a clue what mental health was back then. But really dark places that I was in back then. And you just look back now and you understand what it was, and you understand it was depression, obviously, because it was definitely depression back then. I just wanted to be on my own. I built up myself from third to fourth class, and then just dropped. And pretty sad to see that happen, but I don't know, was it for the best, because things are made out to come your way, to be honest. That's the way I always believe. Like, one negative always comes in to 3 or 4 positives. And you just look back and you're just like, maybe I wouldn't be here now if I didn't do that or whatever. Anyway, that went like that for a while, and I just sat in the corner and done nothing for a long time. Then 6th class, obviously, big change. I wasn't really that worried. I was more upset. One of my friends went to Poland for work. Well, not for work. Well, just their father, the family went for work, And, I was a bit upset about that. That's the only thing that was really annoyed me. I wasn't really that... I was a bit annoyed about moving to secondary school, but I wasn't the most annoyed. Obviously, yeah. So during that summer, I done nothing. That's really the thing. Suppose when I got to secondary school too, first year of secondary school was really the turning point in my life, I suppose you could say. This is why I'm here now. And it's a huge story. How long are we in here? 6 minutes. Good God, I'm dragging this out. And no, but it does take a lot of courage to relive your past. And I'm not even saying half the stuff. Like, I know a few more things I could say, but that take for and explain it to people where I was in that situation and what happened. But when I went to first year in secondary school, the thing was, the most that I always feel sorry for kids nowadays, because they usually go where their friends go. Like, some of them went to other schools that their friends were going to. And again, I was the odd one out because I had no idea where I was. I went to the secondary school. I didn't have a clue. I only knew maybe my cousin, that's what he that was in my first year in secondary school. But the positive did come out at the end of the day, although worry in the first few weeks of secondary school, like, because I sat on my own for a long time in secondary school. Excuse me. And you just, like, you've seen other people going to come in from school. And then now, when you look at it, and they're not even friends with the people anymore that they went in with. And that's pretty sad, but it's probably the reality in life. Like I made 3 or 4 good friends, I suppose, one December. The autumn, and then August, autumn, I was calling it autumn. August, and then at around December, I made 3 or 4 good friends that I still have to this day. One of my best friends, I suppose you could say. BFFs, ooh, right, that's enough of that crap. That was the go back in my day, but you're my BFF, what's that crack, you know the stuff. you know the stuff. Inappropriate, right? Move on. What was I saying? Around December, I suppose, I had terrible, suicidal thoughts. That's really the truth. I had at the end of December, so I had terrible. I don't know why. But I suppose I knew around December that it was heading in a very bad direction. I could see it happening. And I could see my downfall, let's be honest. And obviously, January went okay, and then in February, late February, you could see me going in and out to the hospital. Back and forth to the hospital because different things, different mental health issues. And, and then it all blew up in my face in March. And March was the toughest toughest year of my life, 2016. It's tough year. Really tough because everything blew up in my face. All that hurt, and because I never talked about things. I was never one of them people to talk much about things, and it blew up in my face, and it didn't help that. Yeah, it didn't. It just didn't. Nothing really helped. And obviously, went to especially mental health facility in Dublin, for a long time, for 7 or 8 weeks. I can't remember how much weeks it was, but after I came out of Cherry Orchard, I was a changed man. To be honest, I was a changed person. I could suppose where that's where the revolution began. But I always kind of was a patriot at heart. That's what I just want to say. I always had incredible love for this country and incredible love for the countryside and everything like that. And incredible love for history back in my younger days too. But, and a good bit of love for politics too. But I suppose when I came back and went into second year of secondary school, you could see the changes. Like the first thing, and I just want to address it, the elephant in the room, it's the Wed Hughes controversy, I suppose you could say. And which I accused, I suppose, Wed Hughes in the wrong. I suppose it was kind of a joke too, and my mind was playing tricks on me, let's put it that way. Because I knew my mind, I didn't know, I couldn't, like, it was, I don't know, it was crazy thoughts I was thinking back then. And obviously you were very angry about going and you were blaming everybody. That's the way it kind of went for a long time. But I was blaming people for this, that, and I was blaming myself. I was blaming everybody. Yada yada yada. Yeah, you know that situation. And I had to blame the town and Calvin called Wed Hughes because I assumed they were communists. For their name for some reason. I don't know where I snapped onto that, but good times. No, it wasn't good times. I really feel sorry for the people of Wed Hughes that they listened to me. I suppose it was propaganda back then, but I suppose at the end of the day, as even so many solicitors and lawyers said to me that they didn't bring it to, nobody brought it to law or anything like that, but I went and asked solicitors and all the rest about it and talked about it and all that, and they were like, should the Irish justice system couldn't do it, they couldn't put up a case like that, because it was clearly that it was upset with everything. And that kind of, I suppose that kind of changed me. And then kind of, from then on, I kind of was very open, what was I going to say? Because after going through something like that, you're very open. You're very open to talk. You're always there for people. Because you know the darkness that you went through. You know how much pain it feels to hurt somebody. And you wouldn't wish it on your worst enemy. And mental health problems, suicide and everything it's okay to talk about things like that. When I was young, you were told to get up and get on with it, and if you're dead, you're dead. And that changed my outlook on life, and I suppose it did really, when I suppose I was younger too, I didn't like the Catholic Church much anyway. I still don't like them to this day because I think they're just evil. And I suppose after that, you've seen my big revolutionary movement, and I'm a big difference now. I suppose I moved on hugely. I'm here now. First of all, I'm showing my face. Never thought I'd show my, like before I was afraid, and I was afraid of people making fun of me because of my acne, and that's basically the truth. And I never thought I ever say that in my life, but here I am. I'm saying it. I'm here. I'm fucked if God knows how many people's going to watch this video, but I said it. Be a lot better inside. You can see me inside, just like not pretending. But you know, it changed me. That few years and them few months changed me. It changed my outlook in life. It changed who I am or what I believe in and the wider society. And it changed the way you treat people. Like, I treat people with a lot more dignity. When I was younger, I kind of didn't tick before I said something. But that was obviously, every young person does that. And nowadays, I process nearly 50 words before I say it. Before I say what I have to say to somebody. Because I don't want to upset them. I don't want to annoy them. Because I know what words can do to you. Words are more hurtful than actions. Believe me. Because I spent more time crying over words than I did about getting kicked or hit with stuff and the rest of that. And, and that's why I am here now. I never thought to show my face. And anxiety is obviously something big I have. Which it doesn't... I know people probably say that's ridiculous. You're talking rubbish now. But it's true. It's very, very true. And... anyway. That might be a story for another video. Because it'd be so long I take into it. Anyway. Thank you for watching. Subscribe for more. And let me know what you think. I know it's a long story. And I suppose I might do another part to it. Yes, I will do another part to it because it's still a bit more to talk about. But yeah, I'll do another part. And yeah, thank you for watching. Subscribe for more and bye.